Okay, let's see if I still remember how to do this. Imagine for but a moment going back to the wonderful year of 2005. What were you doing? What was the family like? What was your life like? Was it anything like mine? Fucking hope not. My 2005 was a lot of me sitting around looking like this. A fat dork with bad acne listening to way too much Coheed and Cambria with enough grease in my hair that you could wring it out and solve the oil crisis. I was out here being a little stud, bro. Take one look at me. I was absolutely crushing pussy. I was also playing a lot of video games at the time. More specifically, I was playing a lot of BioWare games. I was playing a lot of Neverwinter Nights, a top-down RPG set in the Forgotten Realms campaign of Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition. I was playing arguably way too much of their sprawling kung fu epic Jade Empire, which is also a little culturally insensitive. We don't have to touch on that if we don't want to. And beyond a shadow of a doubt, I was playing way too much of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, which in my opinion is still the best Star Wars video game to this day.
To this day!
Realistically, my life at the time was nothing but BioWare games and, like, hentai. And that's all I would talk about with literally anybody that would walk in front of me. The games, not the hentai. Like I said,
Absolutely crushing pussy.
so you can imagine my surprise in late 2005 when I was probably watching pirated episodes of Naruto and, like, jerking off, barping the worm, spanking the clown.
Know what I mean?
That this happened. Oh, I was flabbergasted. I had ascended. I achieved nirvana.
I did a big old cum.
Okay, so I should probably tell you how it changed my life. The title's not clickbait, so I should probably explain. And I'm gonna do that. But you're gonna get a history lesson first. So in order to do that, I'll need to take you over to sunny, cloudy? I don't know what it's like over there, but we're going to Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, where we will meet not only the founders of the company, Ray and Greg, whose last names I will not be pronouncing, but also the creative director for the game trilogy, Casey Hudson. We'll start with him. Starting at BioWare in the early 2000s, the man who would become the trilogy's game director started out as a simple 3D programmer, eventually becoming the project lead on Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. And after that, he felt as if they needed to make something that was farther away from the traditional pseudo-turn-based gameplay that they've been known for, set in a universe all their own. I think he says it best here.
A little bit more accessible in terms of action that people understand versus kind of a D20 turn-based thing. We wanted to do something similar but better in a few ways. And we knew there was another challenge out there, which is, what if we could create our own universe for this and not play in someone else's as much as we love Star Wars. Greg and Ray and I had a meeting over lunch at a Greek restaurant near here, and we just talked about the high-level ideas of what this kind of game should be.
Which brings us to those two names that he mentioned. Collectively referred to as the Doctors, Ray and Greg founded BioWare in the year 1995, when I was still a wee lad, shortly after earning their medical degrees.
Seems like a drastic change of career path after spending 20 fucking years in medical school. Maybe being a doctor isn't as lucrative as we all think, but I digress.
They made the company a damn near household name with games like Baldur's Gate and the earlier mentioned Neverwinter Nights. But they were also willing to venture out into a new territory, namely an entire original science fiction IP that took elements from all over the sci-fi spectrum. Again, we'll go to Casey Hudson.
Should there be aliens? You can have a great science fiction property with no aliens. It's just humans and planets and exploration and stuff like that, but no aliens. And should we have other planets, or should we make it like a Pitch Black kind of thing where you're on a planet and it's a story that's limited to that location, which you can do a great job of, but it's a choice, right? But to me there's something to the magic of science fiction and the fantasy of being able to do things that you can't otherwise do.
And thus, in the year 2007, Mass Effect had arrived. And my hyperfixation with it arrived with it. it's probably hard to accurately describe exactly how I felt when I hit the start button on the main menu for the first time. But I can imagine it felt something like this.
We happy? Vincent! We happy?
Yeah, we happy.
So anyone that knows anything about me at all is that I'm a huge science fiction fan. I love everything from Star Wars, you see that, to Battlestar Galactica. I also even really liked Firefly for a little while, but that was back when I was a young little edgelord. Now we're not allowed to really enjoy Firefly anymore, and that's fine because Firefly is actually super mid, and there are a lot of other reasons why we're not allowed to like Firefly, but back in 2007, I loved Firefly. Really loved Dune. I loved all sorts of sci-fi. The only thing I really didn't care for was, like, Star Trek, because every Star Trek superfan I've ever met kind of just looked and acted like this.
Captain James Tiberius Kirk will be born, hence the statue immortalizing him grappling with his most accursed nemesis.
Ricardo Montalban?
I'm only kidding, Star Trek fans. You guys are actually pretty cool. The Next Generation is goated. I'm not even going to begin to play with you on that one. But Mass Effect checked off every box of what science fiction could be to me. What science fiction should be to me. It took everything great about all of these different worlds and made this amalgamation of all the best parts, but made them incredibly interactive. It blew the doors off of my small little brain. It has this wonderfully diverse cast of characters and races. It's got these wild, over-the-top powers that kind of break the most of the modern laws of physics. And enemies and villains that could stand toe-to-toe with any other bad guy in any other franchise. Put the Borg up against the Reapers, man. That's your Wrestle Kingdom main event. But what really kind of changed everything for me, what really tickled my pickle, was how immersive it was. At the time, there was no game doing what Mass Effect was doing. They made it a point not to just tell you about the world that they created, but to actively show you the world that they created, and to have you be an active participant in the world itself through the choices you could make in the game. And that's not to say that it wouldn't hold your hand sometimes and just kind of like tell you what's going on. Expository dialogue, beautiful narrative function, totally understand it. But even in those moments, it felt more show than tell, if that makes any sense. Like, yeah, they could tell you how amazing the Citadel is for the first time, or they could show you. I have played through this game probably over 20, 25 times since its release, and that scene gets me every single time. Even the character creation starts with an immersive element. You have to choose not only your pre-military history, which determines your starting morality points and gives you a side mission that is exclusive to that choice, but also to your military history itself, which gives you a specific accomplishment and also something for other characters to reference within the game. The game also keeps you immersed by letting you make these situational choices that have lasting effects. Do you want to genocide an entire forgotten race that everybody thought was extinct? You can do that. Do you want to let a known terrorist escape justice just so you can go and save the hostages that he took?
Maybe. But
You
I
can
make
do
sure
that.
You won't follow me today. Those charges are still on a timer. Better hurry if you want to save your friends.
Do you want to punch out a mentally ill guy because he's getting a little zesty in a war zone? Yep. You can do that too.
Say goodnight, Manuel.
You cannot silence the truth. My voice must be heard.
Bam!
That might have been a little extreme, Commander.
The game also set itself apart from like its contemporaries by having an incredibly well-written cast of party members that had their own struggles, opinions, and distinct personalities. Like Ashley, for example, the xenophobic military brat who was apparently the last person in the galaxy to believe in God. Garrus Vakarian, the spooky ex-cop who really is just running around having, like, space Batman vigilante fantasies. And Dr. Liara Tassoni, the 106-year-old archaeologist who is just perfect.
Really crushing pussy.
I'm not going to touch on the romance options in this video game. There's like 3 of them, and only one of them is any good. It's this one. The one that lets you be Captain Kirk. Live a little, you're in space. Go out of your way to fuck the alien that can do the West Borland eye thing. I'll be doing an entire segment in the Mass Effect 2 video about romance options, because in that one, you are Commander Sleazeball. You're going out of your way to fuck everything that moves. Like, it's serious. I'm talking like you're walking around hitting ass like it's... Oh, and the exploration system in this game. Whew, for 2007, that's peak. It's a whole galaxy of planets at your disposal that you can scan, land on, drive around on, find hidden things on. Some of them are for like a more linear fashion, like if it's a main mission. Or you can visit one of the dozen or so explorable side planets that are all open world. You can go do whatever you want on those, and they kinda suck. In 2007 they were great, but by today's standards, holy shit. Just look at this. What is that? What is this? It's just a fucking chore. And look at this thing here. Shifty cow? The fuck is that? We're gonna leave now and wait a you what? You fuck you. I'm also not gonna touch on the overall gameplay. We all kind of know how it plays in the year 2023. Like a brick attached to a lead balloon. Underwater. So, I have to bring the energy down a little bit. I say this game changed my life, and it did, for all of the reasons that I just talked about. But it also changed my life in a different way. Because 2007 was, not a good year for me. On a personal level. Like I said, I looked like this in a public school that really didn't care about who was getting bullied or not. And I was getting bullied a lot. I was getting bullied at home by neighborhood kids. I was getting bullied at home, sometimes by my own family. At school, things were not good. I was getting called particular names because I was listening to a lot of K-pop. I wasn't even listening to anything wild like Girls' Generation that would get me bullied, bro. I was listening to Rain. Rain's awesome, bro. It's Ninja Assassin. He fucking rules. It's Rain. There would be days where it got so bad I would come home and seriously debate whether or not I actually wanted to do a swanton bomb off the roof of my family home. Which in hindsight, kinda stupid. My house wasn't that tall. I realistically would have just busted both of my legs and looked like a fucking idiot. But I needed an escape from all the bullshit that was going on in my life, whether it was at school or at home, and in 2007, Mass Effect was my escape. I wasn't getting bullied for anything in Mass Effect, man. I was allowed to live in that world and be the hero. I could have adventures in that world. I could bang hot aliens in that world. I could punch mentally ill people in that world. I could punch reporters in that world. I could have the homies punch politicians in that world. I should probably see a therapist. You know, for years, people have said that music has changed lives. Music changed my life. Music saved my life. That's true. That's valid. It can, and it has, and it will, forever. But I think it's time that we let video games enter that conversation. Because Mass Effect did change my life. It opened my eyes to what science fiction could really be. It changed how I operate as a writer, and it's a large part of why I'm still walking around today. Yeah. I'll see you in the next one.